Let's convene the meeting at 6:30. This is the City of Essex Junction Development Review Board agenda and meeting for March 20th, 2025. And as I pointed out, we just barely have a quorum tonight, so we expect a fourth member to show up, but at the moment, anything that gets approved has to be unanimous. Hopefully we'll have Dylan here before we get too far into this, but maybe not. Is there anyone online? I don't see any other participants.
Nobody online.
Okay. Any additions or amendments to the agenda, Michael?
I would propose agenda item 6A, reschedule June's meeting, and no further changes.
6A. Yeah. I don't have a 6A.
That's, yeah, adding agenda item 6A.
6A. And is 6A similar to 5B?
5B is...
Oh, wait, 5A.
5A, yeah.
5A.
Yeah.
5A is the variance application at 177 West Street. I am proposing that we add, under other development review board items, a consideration of rescheduling our June meeting.
Ah, okay.
Hey, this is Dylan looking at your line. I'm in my car, so the camera off.
Okay,
Great.
Okay.
thanks, Dylan.
Why don't I go ahead and start with our hybrid meeting script?
Thank you.
The meeting of the Essex Junction Development Review Board will come to order. This is a hybrid meeting, which means that some or all of the public body is meeting remotely, and some are meeting physically at 6 Lincoln Street in the Culvert Room at Brownell Library, where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. One member of this public body or other staff is present at 6 Lincoln Street to ensure the public can participate if desired. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that the open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public or public body has technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by using the chat feature on Zoom or by emailing me, mgiguere@essexjunction.org. And in the event of a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue the meeting, if necessary, to Thursday, April 17th at 6:30 p.m. at 6 Lincoln Street in the Culvert Room at Brownell Library. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. Since Dylan is currently online, as required by open meeting law, let's start by taking a roll call attendance of all members participating in the meeting and have those members attending remotely identify themselves out loud to ensure that they can hear and be heard throughout the meeting.
Dylan Zwicky, I can hear you, and hopefully you can hear me.
And we're all here, so we don't need to do anything else. Okay. Item 2, public to be heard. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to something that is not on the agenda?
Nope.
Good. Okay. Item 3, minutes for approval, minutes of February 20th. You have them in your packet. Are there, let's see, I need a motion to approve the minutes and a second before we can talk about them.
I'd move to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Any discussion, changes, corrections, etc. to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes as issued, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dylan,
Aye.
thank you. Minutes are approved unanimously. And we're up to Public meetings. So we have two public hearings. The first one is a variance application for the conversion of an existing duplex into a fourplex located 3 feet within the front 15-foot setback at 177 West Street by Eva and Adam Slocum. Are they here today? Thank you. We've seen it in our package here. I'm going to ask staff to give us a quick overview of what he wants us to do first, because I think if we get the questions out of the way on what applies, then this may get really simple.
Yep. I've got the oath for representatives if you want me to start with that.
Oh, that would be great. So we need to swear in anybody who has testimony on this. Is that both of you, one of you? Perfect.
All right, so all who are presenting tonight, please raise your right hand. I hereby swear that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury. Say I do. I do. All right. So I'll start with a quick disclaimer on 177 West Street's variance. So we had new application materials submitted today. I have presented those to you on the table for review, but I'm bringing this up because it changes the context of this hearing, which is for a variance for a duplex that is an existing nonconformity. And the context changes enough that it nullifies my submitted staff report for your review. So city staff's original understanding of this project was based on submitted materials, which was that the fourplex expansion was located entirely within the existing garage's footprint. However, these newly submitted materials show a small expansion in square footage. It's not much, but it is slightly larger than the existing garage's square footage. The proposed expansion changes the context in terms of how you, the board, would consider granting a variance. I want to be clear that if this home was not in an existing nonconformity, this would be entirely administratively approvable. Additionally, as pointed out in your staff report, a vertical expansion would possibly be eligible for a waiver and not even a variance based on the language in section 802B, which allows for the enlargement of a non-compliant structure only if the setback encroachment is not increased. Again, if that square footage is not increased towards that setback. Based on the facts that I nor the board have had time to review these submitted materials, I would recommend that the board move forward with the public hearing, giving feedback to the best of your ability based on what's in front of you, but deny the application, asking them to come back with these submitted materials after staff have time to review them.
All right, I have an alternate possibility. You can tell me if this works, but we can act on the previously submitted material and they can figure out what they want to do from there. As in, come back. There's no way we have enough information to work from what just got submitted today, but I think we made our way through, or we might be able to say what we think on the first package. Can we try that and then we can see if they want to keep going? And is it true that the footprint got bigger? No.
And I would ask if you guys want in front of the microphone, please.
All right, why don't you guys give us a quick presentation and just clarify what got submitted today. If it's just the design of what was originally represented, I'm not even sure we have purview over it. I mean, it's not in a design review district or anything, so we want to make sure you have the rules straight so that if it's just the variance that you need, then I think the whole thing goes administratively, so you don't even have to show all this to us. Okay. But if it's more complicated than that, then maybe we need to wander our way through it.
So today, I did submit, we finally got some drawings from an architect of the property. I can give these to you, show these to you, that can be adjusted, but they are within the footprint of the garage, but however the roof
So what we got before was that we were
Yeah,
just making it taller, but it was on the same footprint.
correct.
Is that true?
Yep,
Still true.
still true.
All right,
It's
perfect.
true.
Let's stop there just for a
Okay.
minute, because that means we grant the variance and the rest of it's administrative, I think. Does that work for you, Mike?
So the applicant is presenting materials that show the roof overhang
Oh, that's what you're referring.
expanding into the setback.
Okay.
So if the
Just-
board wants to basically ignore the newly submitted materials and grant the variance for the old materials, which
Oh.
were the drawn,
That's for the
Design.
stair. It's covering the stair, yeah.
yeah.
There's a stair out there.
Again, not much, but enough that it changes
Okay.
the context of how you approach the variance.
I see. Is that a required stair for egress kind of thing? That's how you get to the upper units?
Yeah, that would be how you get the upper unit, yeah.
Are there 2 units in the new section and 2 units in the old section?
Correct.
Yep,
That's
the
what
existing,
it's
yeah, exactly, yep.
The overhang of the roof was something that was added to see if that would be, easier construction wise for us, but that can be taken away.
I think it's the stairs are still in the, right?
Yeah, I mean, they would, I think the way I interpret this, and I'm gonna read what we're having trouble with here, just so everybody's on the same page. You're not allowed to increase your level of non-conformity, as in you're already non-conforming, you can't make it worse,
Okay.
right? So the
Yep.
footprint can't go more into the setback than it already is, but there are provisions that will allow it to get bigger, and we're interpreting that as it can go up. It just can't go in, right? So the footprint's really important. And this is what it says. A non-complying structure may be enlarged or expanded provided that the following conditions are met. And it has to be all 3, Michael, the way I'm reading that. We can't just find one that works. We need to make sure all 3
Correct.
are met. So the first one is that the enlargement or expansion itself conforms to all the provisions of the code except the setbacks. That's what we're trying to grant the variance for. The structure, this is B, the structure as enlarged does not diminish any required yard or setback areas except a setback line encroachment equal to the existing building line, which I don't really know what they're trying to say there, but I think the intent is that that existing building line has to be the edge.
That's my understanding, and that is what has changed in the context
Right.
of the new roof overhang.
So if the roof overhang of the new building is the same as the roof overhang of the existing building,
Okay.
you're fine.
Gotcha.
The stairs would have to go somewhere else, and that's just an architectural issue. You can do that, right? But what
You're
we're
adding
telling
back
you
to the
is
building.
that according to the way that this variance exception allows you to make it bigger is almost any way except into the setback farther.
Yep, no,
Okay,
makes sense.
does that make sense?
Mhm.
So it would possibly mean the stairs would have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm prepared to say is the rules basically allow you to do the taller version of the same thing as we interpret them.
That's ultimately what we're after. We can,
Yeah.
if that's the way we'll have to go, then yeah, we can just
Yeah.
go back to not totally to the drawing board, but readjust where the stairs are and whatever. And but yeah, that's ultimately our goal, is to get those 2 units up there. So if that's the way
You know,
we
it's
gotta do it, we'll do it
kind
that
of
way.
a nice project for a number of reasons, but because you've got this issue with the setback, you're restricted a little bit. All right, and if we say that, and that's the rule, and we allow that variance, but we ignore the new drawing, I think we can say okay and send it back to staff.
Okay.
Does anybody have other comments or questions for the applicant?
For the sake of the applicant, what would constitute encroachment of the roof overhang as opposed to an awning covering the stairs? Or is it the stairs that would be part of the encroachment?
So stairs are partially exempt from setback encroachments. They can encroach up to 18 inches. But again, part of the issue is that this is an existing nonconformity where they're already 3 feet into the setback. Stairs are fully not exempt from setback exceptions. So if they submit plans and we find that the stairs are located within the setback, I can't allow that.
And the roof is tricky because sometimes canopies are allowed, but in this case, it's drawn as if it's a full extension of the actual roof. So I think that for me, I would have to say you can have what you have now, just higher, same overhang, and it looks like it's a, you know, like a foot, maybe 14 inches, 16 inches, something like that. So that's okay. You just can't make it bigger. And I would be okay with that, but the stairs have to go somewhere else. There could be a door there, like for the bottom units, you could have a door.
Yep.
It's just that upper unit, the upper 2 units they need a stair, and it just can't be where you're showing it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a possibility that it could be on the back side of the building, or is that a different time?
As long as
and
it's
a
not in
different-
the.
I don't see any reason why not, according to the where the setbacks are shown on the drawing that we have. They are not affected by the setback.
Yeah, I read.
Partially it is, but
Yeah, it's like at the corner. Oh,
Where's the are you using the existing parking for all the additional units?
mhm.
So it's just that one driveway for all 4
Yeah.
units in the front? Okay.
Yeah, it has to go. If the way I'm looking at the plan, if they go off the back, you're not going to be in the setback, so that would not be an issue.
I would agree with that. That if it's in the back, then you comply with all 3.
okay.
And you know, we're looking at this map that you sent us, right? That shows where the setback is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a super wide setback. It's not
Oh, I
a
can see
normal
the lines
setback.
there.
Yeah, it's the angled one here. And-
Okay.
Right. So, I think you have a shot at this. I think you have to be a little creative with the plan, but other than that, you know what the rules are now, and the rules aren't going to prevent you from doing it, but they do limit where it happens.
No. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, anything else? Any more questions?
Not for me.
Maybe for the sake of our scribe, could I get a formal recommendation from the board stating that this application meets the criteria of section 802B, which allows
Yeah.
for the expansion of non-conforming structures?
I'm working on a motion here that hopefully you've already written for me.
I didn't have one based on that.
I move that the DRB approve the variance for the vertical expansion of the portion of the existing principal structure. I don't.
Yeah, that would not be the use because we're saying that because this application meets the criteria for section 802B, they do not need to go through the variance process.
All right, so we're actually saying, okay, good. So let me revise my motion. That the board finds that the application meets the non-complying structures definition and exceptions of 802B 1, 2, A, B, C. 1 and 2, A, B, and C, as originally presented, and that no additional impact or change to the existing setback infraction is allowed. Is that covered?
Yeah.
Second?
I second that motion. Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Dylan. Motion passes unanimously. So, my understanding is that you can work with staff on this project now. You don't have to come back to us
Okay.
Okay.
unless you try and want to do something that staff feels
Yeah.
needs to come back to us. But
Yeah.
you've got an
Well, I'm
exception.
glad that we know that we can't put the stairs there.
Yeah.
Good
Which
to know.
makes sense.
It's things happen, it's and you have a designer. I don't see that they're actually an architect, but they are a designer.
Correct, yeah.
They can work with you on that. I'm sure there's 14 different options that you can think of, and
Yeah, I can just rotate the picture. Yeah, like so.
yeah,
Now we'll figure it out for sure.
good.
Right.
Great.
Um,
Thanks for
all right, thank you.
flexibility.
yeah.
Thank you. All right, we're on to public hearing number 2, site plan amendment for 3 additional dwelling units and opening of the 5th floor to an existing multifamily building at 197 Pearl Street by Jidu Situ Trust, care of Gabe Handy, and we have his ace and
Representative.
ace representative. Please state your name for the record, and Michael will swear you in.
Yep, I am Greg Dixon from Krebs and Lansing Consulting Engineers, and I am working with Gabe as civil engineer on the project.
All right. And did you follow the oath that we started with, or should we?
I did. I'll do it again if you want me to.
That's fine. As
Okay.
long as that's been done.
All right. This is one of the more interesting cases we've had. I will say the building created quite a bit of controversy when the 5th floor showed up to begin with. I want to go on record saying that the planning commission / DRB had no knowledge of a 5th story. It was constructed after an approved building was approval was granted, and does not break the height limit restrictions, but it represents an added story that was not allowed at the time. And my understanding is that this extra story in the Vermont code now can be allowed under certain conditions, notably affordable units.
Mhm.
So why don't you walk us through that a little bit, and then I think this is really kind of not going to be a big thing.
Yep. So I'll start off by saying the extra 3 units actually have nothing to do with the 5th story. That was found space. That was kind of, I think, originally storage space outlined on the last architectural plans. It's basically a space that was the exact same size as all the other studio apartments. They were going to use it for storage. They nixed that idea and just added 3 more studio apartments, 1 on each floor. So that's the additional 3 units. The 5th story is only on the corner of the building. Kind of, I don't know what side that would be. I think it's the western side, maybe the southwestern side.
I
And
think
it
you're right.
only encompasses sort of making one unit, that sort of corner unit, larger. So right now on the 4th story, that unit below is a 2-bedroom apartment, and with the addition of the 5th story, that would allow that to become a 4-unit apartment. So then all the apartments would be, I think they're 1s and 2s, and then this would be the only 4.
4-bedroom.
4-bedroom.
Yeah.
And right now it is sort of blocked off and unused, so it's just empty space up there. But the intent with this meeting and us coming in front of you, is to open that back up and allow that unit to become that larger unit.
All right. Then there was a number of things in the staff report talking about the way that got allowed, which had to do with affordable number of affordable units and the paperwork associated with creating those and showing they last for 15 years. I'm happy to let all that get worked out by staff, but I think that's the way to go. It's a very interesting that you're not building anything new. There's no change to the facade. There's no change to anything but some minor interior remodeling, and you got a extra level, which I guess I'm happy to see a possible route to allowing that, because it's space that's already there. So I don't want to set any precedents for thinking people can build stuff and they'll figure it out later. We're not happy that it got built to begin with, but here we are. So I'll let the city figure out how to create the rules that might keep us from seeing things change between approval and construction. It does happen from time to time. It's not ideal, doesn't help anybody, creates a lot of confusion. So please continue to work on those regulations or enforcement things. But at this point, I'm fine with that as presented and as staff has recommended. Anyone else have questions? Comments?
So you're adding 4 units then total.
For one
Total.
unit gets
One's
extra
gets bigger.
bedrooms, and three
Three single
units show up in
yeah.
previously claimed as storage
So
space.
3 studios and 1 now 4-bedroom unit.
Yeah.
That was a 2-bedroom. It's
Yeah, and
becoming a 4-bedroom.
We did the WW calculations, the flow calculations, and actually a bunch of the 2 bedrooms that were originally proposed have also become studios. So there's more studios than was originally proposed, and even with this increase in 3 more units and making that a 4-bedroom, we actually reduced the amount of flow going from the building. Rule based, obviously, but
And lease wise, or you just lease them or rent them? You're not selling any of these, right?
yeah. Just,
Are they? Do you find that the mix of unit types, numbers of bedrooms, is adequate or good for the current demand?
I think Gabe does really well with the single bedroom units, and so I think those have been kind of, and I think that sort of shows increasing those. He felt that was the case. I think he's actually renting a lot of the studios to traveling nurses that work at the hospital. So that also comes with them having that nice sort of transit route right from the area.
Right there. Not much different than parking at Fanny Allen and bussing in, right?
I think even he said some even walk to Fanny Allen as on the new bike path that just went.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I do believe that he does have it's 52 single units, 61 single units, 8 2-bedrooms, and then the 1 4-bedroom unit. So I believe that is working for him. Otherwise, he probably would have tried to turn more of those single and studios into more double bedroom units, because kind of all you do is just combine 2 studios to make a double unit.
And then for the one on the 5th floor, does he have to? Are we gonna talk about the affordable housing piece? Is that part of like agreeing to allowing that
So
5th floor?
it's written in state statute such that so this district normally has a cap of 4 stories. If an applicant wants to get a 5th story, they go through this process, which says that 20% of the units in that building need to be deeded as affordable for 15 years or longer. We set ours at 15 years. So for this project, that would be 14 units that need to be deeded as affordable for 15 years. And there's more information available on the state's website as to how that's calculated, but it's essentially 80% of the average median income for the area.
So will that be part of our,
I think that's the
Proposal.
permitting
Yeah.
piece that the applicant will have to complete before they hand him his
okay,
CO.
okay.
Yep, I've got those as proposed conditions for approval. Welcome to take a look at them.
And Michael sent us those. I forwarded them on to Gabe. He is currently out of the country, so I don't know if he's had time to look at them. But the way that I talked about it with Michael is, if he is not interested in accepting those covenants, we don't get to use the fifth story. So it's
Yeah.
it's sort of
Okay.
Yeah.
that's the trade-off. Is how I read it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Dylan, any comments on your end?
No comments or questions on my end, no.
We do unfortunately need to look at parking. No proposed increase to parking whatsoever, but by adding quote unquote 3 units, that increases residential density and thus triggers parking requirements for this district. So I've got that written in your staff report. When this went through final site plan approval by the Planning Commission, they granted a parking waiver based on the excellent transit access. There's a bus stop right outside of the apartment complex. So I'll kick it to the board to discuss further.
All right. So what we're saying, I'll just ask Greg if I can. Is there a parking issue that you're aware of now?
there is not currently a parking issue.
And how fully rented are you?
I do not believe he's fully vested, but I do think he's close. But I don't-
Close to fully rented and no parking problem. You've got half the required parking.
yeah, I think it was
About?
basic. I think it was 1.8.
Yeah,
Was the original one?
you've got 74 spaces and you're supposed to have 150, so you're
Yeah, half.
roughly half. And normally that would be an issue, but in a situation where you're on the bus line and majorly on the transit line, I think we've allowed that. We allowed it to begin with, and you're adding essentially 3 units.
Mhm.
It's a marginal change. I don't see that as being a factor. I mean, the thing that happens is you end up with people won't want to rent there if they can't park. So you will find out before we do whether you have a parking problem.
Yeah, and I think if it becomes a problem that needs to be addressed, I think we'll be back in front of you asking for changes at that moment. But right now, it seems to be working fine.
And I'm very familiar with the back end of this apartment. I live right next to Pearl Street Park. I was there for a couple hours today.
Nice.
And I feel like additional parking in the back would actually be detrimental to the experience within the park.
Mhm.
So I am totally supportive of continuing the waiver on parking. I would have a lot of trepidations about additional parking.
Yep.
And just quick clarification, 150 spaces were LDC standards in 2017 when 2 spaces were required per dwelling unit. Current LDC standards would require 85. So still an increase, but a smaller increase than at the time.
That makes a big difference from what we're considering, though. All right, so you're only 85 now.
Yeah, as mentioned, I do think he rents a lot out to people who don't even have cars. That sort of traveling nurse is definitely someone that they have a lot.
Yeah, I have not encountered. My neighborhood would be where overflow would park, and I've never encountered cars parked on the street.
You know that it's kind of interesting in the big picture that, you know, there are many people who live in, let's say, more urban settings that don't have a car at all. And we don't think that's funny. And here we have what the regional planners have been asking for, which is build me more housing on the bus line. And this is one of the more active bus lines, and yet we're still hesitant to believe that people don't have cars, you know, which,
I mean, even with 61 of those units are single bedrooms. So even if every single one of those had just one car, you still have
There's still enough.
13 more spaces for the 2-bedroom units, which there are the multiple bedroom units, which there are 13 of those. So, I mean, it's pretty much one per unit.
yeah. How many other developments do you guys own along that? Does Gabe own along there?
He has the 227 Pearl Street, which isn't built, or 227 Pearl Street, which isn't built, which I was in front of you for, the one that changed from Brett to Gabe. And then I believe this entity actually owns the 2 buildings closer to Lowe's on that.
I'm just saying that the opportunity for shared parking
Yeah.
from the same owner is very high here. So
I think on our 227 project, we even looked at doing that sort of back connection piece to his other lot to kind of make that all one thing. And I think he's looking at other parcels on the road as well.
yeah, I mean, if people have a car and they want it somewhere within 500 yards or whatever, you know, that's a meaningful relationship, and it's allowed in many, you know, Burlington will allow you a off-site parking as long as it's within certain distance and it's guaranteed. So anyway, there's also been a lot of studies showing that disassociating a parking space from the apartment and then charging for it is another good way to kind of control excessive cars. But we're getting off topic. I have no problem with extending the previously granted waiver. I would like the minutes to reflect that that the waiver is now from 70. Do you have 74 spaces there now?
I believe that
Which is what we allowed 74 to be built against a 150. I think the minutes should reflect that the waiver is now essentially 74 spaces for a demand on paper of 85.
Correct.
Okay. And with that, I would be fine with the proposed conditions and a recognition of the change in parking numbers. Any other comments?
Nope.
Hearing none, I can I have a motion that includes the proposed conditions and the request to recognize the change in parking numbers?
I have one more quick question for Greg and potentially proposed condition. It's a small one, but Chris noticed, let's see, unit 425 down here. Every other floor has this listed as a 1-bedroom, and this to me, looking at the plans, looks like a 1-bedroom, but is listed as a 2-bedroom. So just to potentially to have that amended.
It's likely a typo.
Yep. And then the plans list the lofted unit 413 as a 2-bedroom. So with the changes granted, to switch that to a 4-bedroom.
All right, I'll allow that as a added, we don't actually have a motion yet, so we don't have to allow anything, we're just gonna make that, notation. All right, now, are we set? Anyone wanna make the motion?
Sure. I move that the DRB approve this site plan amendment for 3 additional dwelling units and opening of the 5th floor at the existing multifamily building at 197 Pearl Street with conditions.
As presented and amended.
As presented and amended.
Any further, we need a second.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Dylan, you got any questions or comments?
No, I was just jumping in to second that.
It's just, it must have been the delay of, satellite delay or something. All right, and no further comments. I'll call the vote, and, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you. Good night.
Yeah,
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, you too.
Other development review board items, there's a rumor that we're going to reschedule our June meeting.
That's correct. Our June meeting falls on Juneteenth.
Ah,
So I got in touch with Brownell to see what days our cold hard room is available. I have Monday, June 9th, Wednesday, June 18th, and Tuesday, June 24th. And would open it up for further discussion.
tough call.
The 24th, I might be out of town.
I am actually going to be out of town that day, so. Is that a two? Yes, I'm not going to be here on the 24th.
So 9th or 18th?
I have a meeting on the 9th that's supposed to be in this very room, so they probably have not reserved it.
Uh-huh. The 9th is a Monday, right?
Correct.
And I usually have those other meetings on the Wednesday every month.
Okay.
It's probably going to be on the 18th, the CCRPC meeting.
Okay.
Oh.
Those are around the same time of day? Evening meetings?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Monday's fine with me, the 9th.
So is it possible we'd have to find another location if we're proposing to knock out another meeting?
Yeah, if they have not reserved, then
But you'll be conflicted either way. It doesn't matter.
I'll just skip the other meeting.
Oh.
I'm less essential.
It sounds like we're focusing on the 9th then. Did I get that right? Monday the 9th?
Monday, June 9th sounds like it is the least conflict for everybody.
And do we
Oh.
currently have anything on an agenda for that month, or are we just blocking that out in case we?
Just moving it in advance. That way, our zoning administrator and I can know when to have the application cut off for that meeting.
Perfect. All right. Any other DRB items or announcements?
I
There.
mean, I was just going to add my CCRPC meeting that I was talking to Michael about before about the housing targets, the future land use presentation. I mean, I'm happy to send it to everybody on this committee too. Is that okay? I mean, I think I can send it to whoever, but it is interesting talking about housing targets for each of the cities and towns,
That
and
would be great.
we're considered an urban, it's obviously urban area. And so with Burlington, Winooski, and South Burlington, Essex is considered rural. We're considered urban. And so our housing targets are quite high. So it's an interesting presentation, and I'll send it around to everybody. or I'll send it to you, Michael, and you can distribute it.
And just to clarify, I think Essex Town falls in the mixed urban rural.
Yes,
they,
you're
they
right.
have 3 different categories:
correct. You're
urban
correct.
municipalities, mixed urban rural, and rural.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are correct.
Yeah.
There is either 3 categories. Yes, mixed urban.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's very interesting, and I think at some of those other meetings there was a partial presentation of that, and now they finally have the housing targets.
Is that something?
New
That's the-
housing data. Well, yeah, I mean, I think
that's
they
part of it?
include housing targets, which are, I mean,
Yeah.
essentially they're not enforceable, but they're
The
there
yeah.
to kind of guide people.
The idea is we're given these housing targets,
Yeah.
and that guides municipal leaders and
Yes.
staff to try to create an environment where those numbers are possible. By no means is there an enforcement arm for that, but the Regional Planning Commission is basing these numbers and the distribution of them across the county based on access to existing utilities, water and sewer, as well as the ratio between urban municipalities and rural municipalities is somewhat based on transit access as well.
Yeah.
Understanding that adding more housing units puts stress on the roadway and busway network, and that should be considered. So it's extensive. There's lots of details, and the map gives you a good overall context for.
And they're looking, they're looking for public comment. So the more people we can kind of get to look at it and comment, and I have a couple of comments I'll make based on traffic and things like that.
And one very important thing to keep in mind, anytime any number for a municipality goes up or down, that does not change the overall housing target for the region. And so a decrease for one municipality necessitates that all other municipalities carry the weight of that. So it helps you think about, again, the context region-wide, access to the job centers in the urban municipalities, and really think critically about what we want the future of the region to look like, essentially.
I will share also that I received a notice a couple of days ago about HUD and their $14 million that will be allocated to Vermont for housing. And there is a statewide conference being convened to talk about how that might happen. You know,
Was
what,
that at Hula?
it's
It's
actually
in
at National Life in Montpelier, which
Oh, okay.
I'm stunned that there's no online capacity right now. I'm trying to find out if there's a way to get to that conference or meeting without actually physically being there. And I think it's next week.
Oh.
So I'll try and send that out to Michael, and you can send it to everybody. But it feels like it fits into GCRPC
Yeah.
and other statewide initiatives on housing. Because that's a lot of incentive money for programs or development or something, and they're kind of asking the state to help them figure out how to distribute.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Motion to adjourn somewhere.
I move that we adjourn.
This is your chance, Dylan.
I second that.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Slow on that knees there.
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned.